Okay, we are looking at basic trigonometry. Now, trigonometry is a topic that only works with right angle triangles. And we know that all four triangles here are right angle triangles because each triangle has the little red square on one of its vertices, on one of its corners. So we know it's a right angle triangle. So it's very important before we can start trying to learn the topic of trigonometry is that we can identify which side is called the opposite, which side is called the adjacent, and which side is called the hypotenuse. So you have three sides, and you have to be able to say which one is the hypotenuse, which one is the opposite, which one is the adjacent. So to help us with that, we have to always start off by looking at the angle that we're working with. So for example, in this question with the green angle, this will always be the hypotenuse h. Okay, this will always be the hypotenuse, the side opposite the right angle. The side that's opposite the angle will always be called the opposite, or it's a side. Can you see this side is not touching this angle at all? Okay, it's the opposite angle, so this one is always called the O. And to this angle, if you look at this angle, one of the lines touching it we know is the hypotenuse, the other one touching it will be called the adjacent A. So that's the easiest way to find out which one's the opposite, which one's the adjacent, which one's the hypotenuse. Let's look at the blue triangle now. So again, the hypotenuse is the easiest one to work out. So that's the angle we're looking at. We're not looking at this angle here. We're looking at this blue angle. So the hypotenuse will always be the hypotenuse because it's the one that's opposite the right angle. So that's always the longest side, and that's called the hypotenuse. So in this blue angle, the sides, one of the sides that's touching it is called the hypotenuse. The other side that's touching it will be called the adjacent, and the side that is opposite to the angle or not touching the angle is called the opposite. We'll do it one more time with the purple triangle. So here's our angle. The one that's opposite, or the side that's not touching it relative to the angle, is called the opposite. The one that's opposite the right angle is always called the hypotenuse. So remember, this side is touching this purple angle, so is this side. So since this side here is called the hypotenuse, this side here is called adjacent. Adjacent, normally when we say something's next to it, we can say something's adjacent to it. Finally, with the yellow angle, okay, the side that's opposite the 90 degrees is always called the hypotenuse, the longest side. So this is one of the sides touching the yellow angle. The other side that's touching it we call the adjacent, and the side that is opposite the yellow angle, we call it the opposite O. Can you see this side is not touching the yellow angle at all?